All right, mic check for the upcoming weather coverage, which begins in over 6 Good evening, everyone. Chief Meteorologist James Zahara here in the Storm Track 8 Weather Center. Glad you can join us here on the 8 Plus app, where we're going to give you a little detailed look at what to expect not only come tomorrow morning when it comes to our weather, but maybe even Sunday morning as well. A couple of waves that we're going to be tracking as we go through the weekend. Of course, if you do have any questions in regards to when it comes to the severe potential for severe weather this weekend, go to our WQAD Facebook page. If you have any questions, go ahead and put your question down and see if we have an opportunity to go ahead and answer those questions for you. Here's a breakdown once again. Not too much of a change as we head into tomorrow morning, as we do have that weather impact alert. And we're looking at more between 7 to as late as 11. It's not a great duration here. No surprise about that. What we have been noticing in the past couple of days is that it's been kind of shifting as far as the timing of this event that may take place. And within this broken line of showers and thunderstorms, we can't rule out a good rush of wind coming down or an isolated intense wind gust. And you can't even rule out some heavy rain as well, because this is a very dynamically driven system that will be coming on in as we head into tomorrow morning. So make sure you find a way to receive those warning alerts, if we do have any alerts, that will be taking place come tomorrow morning. Of course, the Storm Track 8 app is certainly a nice tool to have with you in case you're not able to watch us, let's say on TV or here on the 8 Plus app. Now, all quiet across the area. What we're going to be keeping an eye on is mainly the activity way up into our north and west. So as far as the rest of the evening, and for that matter, even for most of the night, with the exception of maybe a little renegade shower or thunder shower before daybreak, the rest of the night is actually looking pretty quiet. But I want to expand this picture out a little bit, and we're noticing several features here. One, we're noticing that approaching system to our west, and more importantly, the warm front that is ahead of it. We are expecting this system to make its way slowly from west to east, and then at the same time, we expect to see a cluster of thunderstorms develop right along that boundary. In fact, we're already seeing some of that activity right around there. And that's the area that we're going to be watching as it develops in that general area and then slides across the south and east. And that's pretty much in line to that approaching warm front that will be taking place. So all the ingredients are right there. What's even more interesting is once these storms move on through come tomorrow morning, we should see a break, and then depending on what happens going into Sunday morning, will depend on where this boundary that we see located, that cold front located around the Panhandle, Nebraska, where that positions itself late Saturday night into Sunday morning. Likely that boundary will be more to our south of the Quad Cities, and not only will help cool off those numbers going into Sunday, but any chance of showers and storms we see right now, given the information that we know now, may keep most of the drenching showers and storms possibly down to our south. So that's kind of what we're looking at here going into the weekend. Let's kind of focus on this first wave, because the runs of severe weather that we could potentially see tonight will be located just off to our north and west. Wind gusts can't be ruled out, intense wind gusts, some hail can't be ruled out, even some heavy rain. But then that wave will make its way off to the south and east. And this is where, within this line of showers and storms that are expected to be rolling in tomorrow morning, possibly maybe one or two spots within that line is where we could get an isolated, intense wind gust, maybe even some blinding rain to go with it as well. So we could be talking about at least literally maybe a handful of counties that could be under some type of a thunderstorm warning come tomorrow morning, okay? So let's go ahead and kind of put this in motion here. And this is what we pretty much saw on our newscast this evening, and that the main band that we're going to be keeping an eye on is going to be this one right here, of course, located just between Waterloo and Cedar Rapids, and then trailing its way down into Des Moines. Now, as long as it holds together, we expect this line to be making its way across the river sometime between 9:30 and 10, still holding its own as it makes its way across the river itself. And then by the time we get to lunchtime, in this case, I'm stopping the clock here at around noon, the worst of those storms are already going to be off to our south and east, and that's going to allow for pretty much the rest of the afternoon on Saturday even going into early Saturday evening to be relatively quiet. Bring out some sun, and that should help kind of warm up our temperatures across the area. Now, what kind of rainfall could we get from this wave that we see here? And you can see that anytime you see that forest green, that's saying, well, we could get about a ½ inch of rain. But then you see those yellow splotches in there, that's indicating maybe close to an inch of rain. So not surprised about that. Of course, heavier amounts will be even farther off to the west. So this is just for tomorrow morning itself, how much rain we could potentially get from that. We are promising a warm night. Numbers will be around 70 degrees. And then with that duration of dryness and even a little bit of that sun going to the afternoon, we expect those temperatures to be a little bit warmer. I think more like low, mid 80s, could be upper 80s the farther south of the Quad Cities as you go. Now comes the weather going into Sunday, and specifically Sunday morning, because even that time period is when we're looking at some showers and thunderstorms, as a boundary is going to be just to our south. But what's going to be different about this wave coming in on Sunday compared to the one that's coming in tomorrow is not only the track, but the coverage is going to be certainly a big difference. As we put our future track into motion here, this is Sunday morning at 7 a.m. And you can see how the drenching showers and storms, which could even add up to maybe upwards of 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, is really going to be tracking more to our south. That's given the boundary expected to be well south, maybe along the Highway 34 corridor and point southward. So throughout the first half of the day, any rains that we do see that could become heavy will be mainly to south, whereas farther north, right now the chances look pretty small. So overall, going into this weekend, we're going to have some dry hours, not just for tomorrow, but certainly even going into Sunday as well for many of us in that period as well. Now, when it comes to the concern about excessive rainfall, that's something you have to keep an eye on, especially what we had last week in those rural areas. Some of those rivers and creeks and streams are still fairly high. So any excessive rainfall, any additional rainfall that comes down in a very short period of time, that could cause some flash flooding. So definitely want to avoid any high water. But I want to point out here that the area that, even though we see, the areas around the Quad Cities, point south and west under this flood watch, I'm really focusing more in southeastern Iowa. So when you add the rainfall on Saturday, which could add up to maybe 1 or 2 inches across areas, mostly in most areas, you add maybe another 1 or 3 inches around here, and that's where you could be talking about maybe some flash flooding that may be possible with that, especially when it comes to that second wave, okay? And then after that is when we continue with those storm chances, but take a look at the timing here. Given the latest computer model runs, we're still looking at Monday morning, we're still looking at Tuesday morning, and some of those storms could produce some heavy rainfall as well. As we take that main storm track and build in some more of that heat and humidity. It's going to be so far north that by the time we get to Wednesday that skies will be pretty quiet, but extremely hot and humid for Wednesday and Thursday. And then we bring in some more active scattered showers and thunderstorms as we head into the Bix weekend. So that's kind of what we're looking at here when it comes to these storms. But once again, the focus that we see here going into tomorrow morning is pretty much what happens up into our north, right up here. This is what we'll be watching the rest of the night. And depending on how these evolve, those upper winds that are ahead of that boundary, that warm front is going to steer it from northwest to southeast, okay? So the only change that we could potentially see here is certainly its track going into tomorrow morning, and that could have a bearing as far as the timing. So I would say if you're watching us west of the river, I would say around Iowa City, Mount Pleasant, you may be talking, I would say around Iowa City, we're talking about 7 o'clock. I would say around the Quad Cities itself, maybe around 9. And then farther south and east, maybe 10 or 10:30 for hometowns farther east of the river as you go. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as timing is concerned when it comes to this particular wave. And like I said, we don't expect that to really break down too much, even as we make our way into into early next week as well. So kind of due for some of this, some active weather coming on, given what we're seeing here in these next few days. And of course, with the corn sweat taking place, that certainly adds to insult as far as when it comes to the excessive rainfall that could possibly be taking place with these two waves that may be going on. Let's go and take some questions here. And we got a handful of them. I really appreciate that. While I do that, let's see. Do you think, from Michelle, do you think hail on Saturday for Rock Falls? No, I really don't see that. In fact, let me do this here. Let me go back to the future track here and pop that up. Go like so. I'm going to move it like this point. So when it gets to Rock Falls, Sterling Rock Falls, they're talking about maybe close to 10:30 or so, okay? Could we see some hail? I think it could be a possibility. I mean, this is really a very dynamically well-defined system that's going to be coming on in. So no question we're going to get some pretty good rain out of this line, at least embedded in with this line as we make our way into tomorrow morning. And if that cold air aloft is, we see a good steep lapse rate in temperatures from the surface and all the way to the tops of the thunderstorms. If it's really cold aloft, then yeah, I think we got a chance for seeing some hail. But at this point, I would say maybe more pea-sized hail. I think the biggest concern that we have here is with this heavy rain coming down, it's going to grab some of those strong winds on the very top of those thunderstorm clouds and bring it down. That's why we're concerned about any intense wind gusts that may be coming down from this line. But I think that's really the biggest threat going into tomorrow. Dave from LaSalle, Peru. Of course, LaSalle, Peru. Let me see if I can pop this up. Well, I can't get it out here. Let's see. Boom. It's not going to show me. Well, LaSalle, Peru, of course, there you can see it east of Princeton. What time and what can we expect for LaSalle, Peru? Well, let me move our future track over, and I think it's going to eventually make its way toward LaSalle, Peru. You can see right around noon. You guys are the farthest east of the river when it comes to our viewing area. So I would say right around lunchtime is when we expect to see those storms make its way in your neck of the woods. And here's what's kind of interesting, too, is that I think these storms will start really picking up a bit more oomph as we get to lunchtime and thereafter. So I think the stronger part of this line is going to be increasing in intensity going into downstate Illinois and likely going into likely across the Ohio Valley itself. That's where level 2 out of 5 risk even extends even in those areas. But I think given the timing that we're seeing around here, especially in the morning, you kind of lose a little bit of that instability compared to what you would normally see later on in the day. Could we still see a thunderstorm warning or two around here tomorrow morning? Oh, you bet. But it's going to be maybe on more the low end that we see that, given what I'm seeing right now. And then let's see here. Galesburg, Knoxville, and timing from Sharon. Okay, Sharon, let's see. Let's go back once again to around Galesburg itself, around Knoxville. We're talking right now, given what I'm seeing here, around 11 a.m. for those showers and storms. And what we're seeing here, and you may be seeing the heaviest part of this broken line that we're anticipating as it makes its way off to the south and east. So just prepare for that just before lunchtime itself. And then let's see. Oh, I'm getting all these great colors. Let's see here. Hang on here, folks. I'll get this out here in a second. Comments just keep coming in. I love it. Hello, Mrs. Randazzo. It's a pleasure to hear you or from your text. Just control that husband of yours. Okay. What are you thinking, Melissa? What are you thinking of Kewaunee? Well, of course, going on in Kewaunee right now as we speak, by the way, the festival is going on there. And the Prairie Chicken Arts Festival going on this evening, but also will be going on tomorrow as well. Of course, we're going to be there from noon to 3. Myself, as well as Andrew Stusky, will have the beast out there. So I would think for the afternoon hours, I would say going into Kewaunee, it should be okay, given what I'm seeing right now, because by the time we get to the afternoon hours, in Kewanee. At least the rest of the raindrops should be ending right around lunchtime, and then looks pretty quiet after that, okay? So afternoon looks fine. Morning, kind of a different story on that. Brett, what about at Pinnacle? Brett's a golfer. Pinnacle Golf Course out there in Milan. The morning doesn't look all too great. I'm supposed to be playing golf tomorrow morning as well. Right around, supposed to be between around 8 o'clock or so. Up north, right around Hidden Hills. But given the wave coming in, I mean, right now, the timing is not all too great. If your tee off is in the afternoon, you're going to be fine. But in the morning, it doesn't look all too great. And even around Hidden Hills, that's just, of course, north of Interstate 80 in the Media Quad Cities. It looks pretty wet there, too. But, of course, a lot of things could change. You know, everything is not etched in stone. Mother Nature always gets the last word on that. So, of course, things could get tweaked a little bit, especially as we make our way into tomorrow morning. Let me see if I can get some more comments here. Let's see. I'm having a hard time trying to see the rest of those comments. So hang on. Let me do this. And just to remind everyone, by tomorrow morning, we're going to continue to update you on these storms. They should be within range for Good Morning Quad Cities come tomorrow morning with meteorologist Morgan Strackbine from 6 to 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then from 9 to 10. So 9 to 10, we are still anticipating this line to make its way through the area. So let me do this as I am going to get into this page, and then I'll be able to get a better idea, better view of some of these comments from people. And let me go. Oh, put that there, and there. Okay. Dick Sellin. Oh, Dick, good to hear from you. My wife's family picnic at Cole Valley City Park, noon to 4. And he's a big Cubs fan. I bet you enjoyed that big victory today against the Red Sox. Right now, given what we're seeing here, from noon to 4, going to the afternoon, it should be fine. I think the worst of the activity will be off to the south and east. Got some clouds around lunchtime, hopefully giving way to a little sun after that. Tyler, could we see any heat alerts next week? If there was certainly one day to keep in mind, it's going to be on Wednesday. Still looking at those numbers, making their way close to the mid-90s. We could be talking about heat index values around 105 degrees. I'm holding off on a weather impact alert because the concern I have is if we see some excessive cloud cover scattered about that day, it may trim down those heat index values. But we'll see what happens as we go into the weekend. And then likely we may go ahead and pop up a weather impact alert, at least when it comes to Wednesday. Could go into Thursday, but for now, I'm going to hold back on it. Just a little concern about the weather coming in tomorrow morning. And as I make my way through here, Michelle also has another question. Another Michelle. With the ring of fire, how is CAP for them for these storms? The CAP, okay, once again, if you're not familiar when we talk about the CAP, we talk about this warmer air aloft. Okay, as temperatures begin to fall, as you go higher and higher, there's going to be a layer where the temperatures actually rise. Okay, and that prohibits any storm growth once it gets to that level. Okay, so what we're seeing here is not so much as far as a real cap is concerned when it comes to this particular line. Going into next week, that certainly could be a different story, okay? When it comes to the intensity of those storms coming into early next week, of course, will depend on that cap that may be developing going into next week. So good question right there, and I think we'll be talking more about the cap and that ring of fire certainly as we get into next week. Jonathan had a good question. Is there a chance this could evolve into a derecho? And this is the time of year where we can usually get one or two derechos that may pop up. And normally around here, we usually get at least that one. So that's something that is something to keep in mind. I think the answer, I would say, and it's hard to actually to forecast those as well. Those are always a big challenge when it comes to that. But something to keep in mind, I would say, especially with this line that we see here. I mean, I think if it was a little bit more defined, I mean, we really showed some big, considerable downdraft, these downbursts. If we actually really see that ominously on our models, I would say yes, but right now I just don't see that. Okay, but we are due. I mean, this is the time of year when we do expect to see at least one try to make his way across the air, and that may change going into next week as well. So we'll see how that all transpires. Great question, Jonathan. Brett is playing golf tomorrow at 10. Yeah, it doesn't look all too great, especially, Brett, if you're going to Milan playing over at Pinnacle. Doesn't look all too great right now. Doesn't look all too great right now. And I would say, folks, that is pretty much it when it comes to questions. So that's good for this evening, Friday evening. Everyone's kind of chilling out, getting ready for the weekend itself. So that is some. Really appreciate some of those questions right there. But of course, that's what we're dealing with right now going into tomorrow morning with this one particular wave. Now, like I said, there could be a few more tweaks involved here with the timing and the intensity. And I think come tomorrow morning for Good Morning Quad Cities, we'll definitely be able to see those storms probably like if I had to move this back, I would say for the 6 o'clock show or so, it's between 6 and 7, we'll start seeing those storms just off the radar itself, maybe outside of Waterloo or maybe near Cedar Rapids. And I think we'll have a really good idea of really be able to time this out. But right now, for the immediate Quad Cities, mid-morning, right around 9 now, we're looking at if that does hold together. So make sure you tune in with Morgan Strackbine between 6 and 7 on Good Morning Quad City weekends. And then there'll be another weekend Good Morning Quad City show at 9 a.m. to 10. And by then, we'll certainly be seeing the skies begin to really light up on the radar. That's for sure. And that, of course, will play a big role with these storms or what we may be seeing going into Sunday morning. But right now, the area of activity going to Sunday morning may be a bit more south. A little concern in southeastern Iowa for the possibility of some flash flooding, given these two waves that might produce some pretty excessive rainfall. All right, that will do it right here. Of course, keep this in mind that on News 8 at 10, I should be able to get the new computer model runs going into tomorrow morning. So you definitely want to tune into that and see if there's any more tweaking that may be involved there. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you later.